That's another way we can use proximal and distal. So, esophagus, stomach, intestines. So food travels, esophagus, stomach, small intestines. So the stomach is proximal to the small intestines. The stomach is distal to the esophagus. It's just like when you travel. That's the United States, if you can't tell.
I don't think Texas is that.
There we are in Colorado. Let's drive somewhere down here in Florida. Let's take I-70. So, when we leave Colorado, what state will we enter? Kansas. And then what state? Missouri. So Missouri is distal to Kansas. Kansas is distal to Colorado. When we're coming home, Colorado is going to be distal to Kansas. My foot is blank to my ankle. Distal. My knee is blank to my ankle. Proximal. My elbow is blank to my shoulder. Distal. So if you picture the body again, in the word distal, see distance. So something is distal to something else. The thing that's distal is further away from the, when I erase all of this, what am I left with?
Trunk.
The trunk. So something's, if B is distal to A, that means that B is further from the trunk.
And when you say the stomach or the esophagus is distal from the stomach?
No,
I mean,
proximal.
Proximal. I mean, are you going by like the belly?
I'm going by the direction of travel. So we use these words two ways. We use these words in so far as the proximity to the trunk, and we use these words when we think about travel. So if I'm going to travel from here to Florida, on I-70, so I'm going to go take Highway 24 to Lyman, get on I-70. I'm going to take I-70 across Kansas, across Missouri, into Illinois, then I'm going to go south. I'm going to go through Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, and get to the panhandle of Florida. Well, if I travel through, that's Florida, that's Colorado, I've got Kansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama. Kentucky is proximal to Tennessee because I'll get there first. But Kentucky is distal to Illinois because I'll get to Kentucky after going through Illinois. So it's no different whether we're traveling or whether air's moving into our lungs or materials moving through our GI tract, direction of travel. And the other way is proximity to the trunk.
That's what I was thinking. It's proximal.
Well, proximity to the midline or the trunk. Now, the following you probably want to write down verbatim, regardless of your listening skills. I'm not going to write it down, I'm just clearing the board. There is no provision for using the terms proximal and distal with the head or the trunk. There is no provision for using the terms proximal and distal with the head or the trunk. period. There is no provision, that's the dot, not the word P-E-R-I-O. There is no provision for using the terms proximal and distal with the head or the trunk, period. These terms are used in two ways, and two ways only. Colon. Number one, with the appendages. To show the relative proximity of something to the trunk. Period. So there's no provision for using the words proximal and distal with the head or the trunk. These words are used two ways and two ways only. Number one, to show the relative proximity of one part of an appendage versus another to the trunk. In other words, my elbow is blank to my wrist.
Proximal.
Proximal, because my elbow is closer to my trunk. My fingers are blank to my hand. Distal, because my fingers are further from the trunk than my hand is. Okay, so these words are used two ways and two ways only. Number one, to show the relative proximity of one part of an appendage versus another to the trunk. Number two, to show the direction of travel. Example, mouth to the anus, as food flows. So you can't use proximal and distal if you're comparing the eyes to the nose or the belly button to the pectoral muscles. There's no provision for that at all, never, ever. Continuing with your quoting me. Additionally, comma, do not ever use superior and inferior when talking about parts of the appendages. Period. Additionally, comma, do not ever use superior and inferior or inferior, doesn't matter, when talking about parts of the appendages. Period. Never, 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 exclamation mark. So what if you tell me that the elbow is superior to the wrist? Have you just followed the rules?
No.
No. What should you have told me? The elbow is what to the wrist? Proximal. Okay? It's not difficult. It's picky pick. Barney Fife used to say that. Who's old enough to remember the Andy Griffith show? Picky, 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 Barney would say. Oh my God. All right, letter K, word that we've already used comes up, median or intermediate. So again, means in between. We use that with the phalanges. Letters L and M, and I know class is over, but I want to finish this list. Letters L and M, visceral or viscera refers to your organs. So if you said, for example, my abdominal viscera include stomach, intestines, liver, give me some examples of my thoracic viscera. Can anybody? Heart, lungs. Okay. What's the boundary between the abdominal and the thoracic? Diaphragm. Okay. Some of you have been reading. Excellent. Very, very, very happy to know that. So visceral organs, parietal body wall. When you say contralateral, that means opposite sides. So my right arm is contralateral to my left arm. So the word contra is opposite. And you'll a lot of these word parts you're going to use in multiple contexts in other classes. For example, in pharmacology, you'll say that alcohol is contraindicated in a patient taking tranquilizers. Well, duh, you know, you're already sedating the body. Do you really want to add booze to the equation? Alcohol is contraindicated in people visiting from sea level because they're already having trouble breathing. Alcohol is a respiratory depressant. Well, that's what they need. They're already dealing with a lack of humidity. They're from some horrible, I don't want to use the city since I said horrible, but some place where the humidity is 90 to 100%, and they're out here in the winter and the humidity is 10%. Well, they're suffering from dehydration. They really need to be drinking, don't they? Which throws them into diuresis. And so what do we tell these tourists? Drink copious amounts of water. Refrain from sedatives and alcohol. Of course, what do they all do?
They start drinking.
They drink copious amounts of alcohol. Anyway, so the word, the prefix contra, opposite, so contralateral, opposite side. Ipsilateral means same side. Right, again, I said I just wanted to get through that, but I don't want to leave you without looking at Roman numeral 7, body regions. If you read what it says there, I pause so that you can read it. For the people that don't have their notes. So there's nothing, I'm done with this Roman numeral, okay? Every part of your body has a unique name. I want you to use your 3 primary resources. I'll show you the pictures so you can make note of them. Let's stop the packing up. We're not done. Half of you are going to lab anyway, right? So you have nowhere to go. I know that sounded really ugly to me, but sometimes I'm just blunt to the point. All right, so every part of your body has a new name. Learn them. Okay? What's Mikey say?
Just
Just
do
do
it.
it. Okay? Guys, this is like your multiplication table.
Just do it.
You just got to memorize it. Just do it, okay? So every part of your body has a name. This picture comes from your textbook, I believe. No, this picture comes from your lab manual. Use it. This picture comes from your textbook. Use it. And see, they're written by different people, so there'll be slight differences. These 2 pictures, this is the male, this is the female, they come from your atlas. Now when I say atlas, please don't ever ask me which atlas. Somebody hand me the freaking atlas.
She's got it open. Oh, well, hers isn't open.
There are multiple atlases, okay? Some books come with an atlas shrink wrap. That ain't it. Some people buy other materials. When I say atlas, this is what I mean. This is one of the required pieces of course material. So these pictures come from, I can't see the page number there, but they come from this atlas. So you need to familiarize yourself with these body regions. Familiarize yourself, no. You need to know all these words, all these names, textbook, lab manual, and atlas. And who's super responsible and wants to make sure I do something starting Monday morning? You? Okay. So where we will pick up on Monday before we just resume with the notes is with these body regions. We're going to use the noun or the adjective. Is it proper for me to say this is my patellar? Doesn't that sound wrong? This is my what? Patella. If I want to use the word patellar, I'd have to say this is my patellar region. Okay? Can't sound like an illiterate person when you use the words, people. So that's what we'll pick up with, okay? And there's a chart on Facebook that has the different versions. I have it with me Monday, please. All right, you guys